Hello students, this is your next online lecture of the microeconomics. As we have finished the chapter of theory of production, and now the next chapter is the theory of cost of production, that is actually related with the theory of production also, because this is the motive of producer to minimize the cost whenever they want to produce at their maximum level. So that's why the production theory and the cost functions are interrelated with each other. We have discussed in the theory of production that there was the concept of short run production and long run production, and the producer always wants to maximize the production level. As we have described the theory of consumer behavior, where the consumer always wants to maximize his satisfaction. In today's topic of discussion is the cost function. First of all, the cost of production, it is about all the rewards that are given to the factors of production, that is actually cost. As we know that there are four factors of production, and the cost of those factors of production we have described earlier, that the cost of the labor is wages or the salaries, and the cost of capital is rate of interest. This is actually the costs. And when we described what is total cost, so it is actually the cost of four factors of production and plus taxes if the producer will bear any type of tax that will be included. So it means the total cost can be written like the wages plus rate of interest and plus rent plus profit and with taxation if the producer will bear. Then there is concept of short run cost and long run cost. First of all, as I have described here, the cost is actually the value of the inputs that is used to produce its output. For example, the firm hires labor and the cost is the wage rate that must be paid for the labor services. Likewise, the rate of interest, that is the cost of capital, that is the producer will be paid for its rental services. Now we are going to discuss the total cost is actually sum of fixed and variable cost. And this is the phenomena we are discussing in the short run. The main idea behind the short run is about the capital will remain fixed and the labor will be variable. Likewise, this idea was described in the theory of production that the time period is very short in short run, that's why the production will be low. And here in short run, we are discussing the two types of cost, that is, first one is fixed cost and second one is variable cost. First of all, there is fixed cost. It means that will be fixed, that will remain fixed in each and every case, and whether the producer will produce any production or not, the cost will remain fixed. That will include the costs of fixed inputs used in the production. For example, if the producer hired any laborers, so the wages will be fixed. That will be considered the fixed cost. If there is any factory and the producer has hired that building, he will pay that rent in each and every case, that is fixed. And he has employed the laborers, that is fixed. If he has rented the machinery, so he will pay the wear and tear cost, that will also fixed. And if there will be any type of tax, that is also fixed. It means the wear and tear cost, depreciation cost, it means, and the wages, that all are called fixed cost. Now there is concept of variable cost. The cost is that will vary according to the production. If the production will increase, the cost will increase with that. It means if the producer has hired the laborers, but now he has increased the capacity of the industry or capacity of that building where he has implant the factory, now he has hired more laborers and he will pay more wages. He has planted new machinery and now he will pay more depreciation cost, and he has more capital, he will pay more rate of interest. It means whenever the production will increase, the cost will also increase. But here, the main concept behind the fixed and variable cost is whenever the production is zero, fixed cost will be something. It means it will remain $20 or $40. But in case of variable cost, whenever production will be zero, the variable cost will also be zero. And whenever the production will increase, the variable cost will increase. So it means production and cost concepts are interrelated with each other. When production is low, the producer will bear less cost, and when production is more, the producer will bear more cost. The average cost is derived from the total cost, and it is the cost per unit of output. How it can be calculated? It can be calculated by dividing the units of output, and we attained average total cost. Average fixed cost, it is actually the fixed cost per unit of output. It means like you are finding the average, it means you are dividing the thing by its total amount. And average variable cost, likewise, it can be divided by total variable cost divided by units of output. So the average variable cost will be calculated. We have described the concept of total cost. Whenever you discuss the total cost will be summation of the total fixed cost and total variable cost. And whenever we are talking about average cost, we are discussing the average total cost, that is sum of average fixed cost plus average variable cost. Average total cost will be attained by dividing the units of output. Average fixed cost will be attained by dividing the fixed cost by the units of output, and average variable cost will be attained by dividing the total variable cost by the units of output. Next concept is marginal cost. It means it is also called incremental cost, and it is the increase in total cost resulting from increasing the level of output by one unit. It can be derived by taking the derivative or taking the differential that marginal cost can be written as derivative or the change in total cost by change in quantity. It can also be calculated by writing here the change in total variable cost by change in quantity. It means whenever we increase the production by 1 unit, we will increase the cost by 1 unit. The significance of marginal cost is depending of the firm for two reasons. First of all, it is the leading cost curve because you talk about that whenever the production will increase, the cost will increase. It means you are talking about the change, and it is also showing the incremental change, and it is showing the changes in the total and average costs are derived from the changes in marginal cost. And the lowest price a firm is prepared to supply at is the price that just covers marginal cost. It means the marginal cost curve is showing the upward sloping curve, and it is also showing that production is going to increase and cost will also going to increase, and it is also showing like the supply curve. And whenever we discuss the phenomena of supply, it means the price is going to up and supply is also going to increase. So this is showing the significance of the marginal cost regarding the production theory. So here the some concept of cost functions.
Fixed and variable costs. Fixed costs, also called overheads, are those that do not vary with output and typically include rents, insurance, depreciation, and initial setup costs. Variable costs, also called direct costs, are those that do vary with output and include raw materials and some labor costs. The costs shown here are for a firm making robotic manufacturing systems. Fixed costs are constant at £100,000. Its direct variable costs rise as output increases. Graphically, the fixed cost curve is a horizontal line. In contrast, the variable cost curve slopes up at an accelerating rate, reflecting the impact of the law of diminishing marginal returns. This means that if we hold the fixed factors constant and progressively add more variable factors, initially the marginal output, or product, increases because variable factors, including labor, can be put to more specialist uses. Eventually, however, the gains from specialization decline as more variable factors are added. As they lose their marginal productivity, the cost per unit of hiring them increases. Total costs are found by adding fixed and variable costs. The position of the total cost curve reflects the amount of fixed costs, and its gradient reflects variable costs. Average fixed costs, which are found by dividing total fixed costs by output, fall continuously with output. Average variable costs are found by dividing total variable costs by output. Its curve will at first slope down, reach a minimum point, and then rise, reflecting the onset of diminishing marginal returns. Average costs are found by dividing total cost by output. Its curve is typically U-shaped. Average costs are significant because they indicate how efficiently resources are being used. When they are at their minimum, the firm is said to be productively efficient. Graphically, total costs can be shown as the area under the average cost curve. Marginal cost, which is derived solely from variable costs, is the cost of producing 1 unit of output and is found by finding the change in total cost when 1 more unit is produced. The marginal cost curve falls briefly at first, then rises, reflecting the effect of diminishing marginal returns. It will cut average cost from below and will be minimized at that point. When marginal cost is below average cost will be falling, and when it is above average cost will be rising. The marginal cost curve is significant because a firm's decision to supply is taken at the margin. Hence, the marginal cost curve is the firm's supply curve. Revenue provides income to pay for production costs and derive a profit. Total revenue is found by multiplying price by the quantity sold. Average revenue is found by dividing total revenue by the quantity sold and is equivalent to the price of the product. Average revenue equals price times quantity, Q divided by Q, which gives price P when the Q's are cross-cancelled in the equation. Marginal revenue is the revenue generated from selling one extra unit of a good or service. Assuming P and Q are inversely related, initially total revenue increases with output, but at a decreasing rate, eventually reaching a maximum and then decreasing to become negative. As output increases, both the average and marginal revenue curve slopes downwards, but the marginal slopes down at twice the rate of the average. Total revenue is maximized when marginal revenue is zero. Profits are maximized at the output where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. At this point, marginal profits will have reached zero. Graphically, supernormal profits exist when the area of total revenue is greater than the area of total cost. Using the total cost and revenue curves, profits are maximized where the gap between them is the greatest. Profits can increase either when revenue increases or when costs fall. If fixed costs fall, the average cost curve falls, and when marginal costs fall, both cost curves will fall. Finally, a firm will shut down when revenue drops below average variable cost and will break even when revenue covers all average costs. Hence,
this is showing the behavior of all the cost curves that we have described here. The total cost, total fixed cost, total variable cost, average fixed cost, average variable cost, and marginal cost. Now we will show it one by one. In case of short run, we have discussed the fixed and variable cost, and we have also discussed the difference between short run and long run. The main difference is at least one input is fixed. In case of short run, it means we are talking about capital that will be fixed, and in case of long run, all inputs are variables, and in case of long run, we do not have any type of fixed cost. It means it incurred even if one produces nothing. And variable cost that we have discussed is change with the level of output. This table is also showing the behavior of total productivity of the labor and total cost with fixed and labor variable. Where the capital is fixed and labor is variable, it means we are talking about the short run. The labor is going to increase from 0 unit to 7th unit, and the total productivity is increasing from 0 to 650, and we have drawn here, we have calculated the value of marginal productivity of the labor from 0 to 7th unit of labor, and total fixed cost is fixed from 0 to 7th units of the labor, which is 42. Total variable cost is given when you are showing the quantity here, it is 0. The variable cost is 0, but fixed cost that will remain fixed, it will be 42. From the total variable cost and total fixed cost, by taking the summation of two costs, we can derive the total cost also. So here it is total fixed cost, and then there is the values of total variable cost, and by taking the summations of total fixed cost and the total variable cost, you have calculated the value of total costs, that is along the 42 till 105, starting from the production or the quantity which is from 0 to 650. These curves are short-run total cost curves and total fixed cost, that in this table we have shown that it will remain fixed for all the units of production. So here it is fixed for all the units of output, that will remain fixed. So that's why it is horizontal line. And then we have discussed the total variable cost. It will start from the origin till it will go to 63, and output is starting from 0 to 650. So here you will take on the horizontal axis the value of output, and on the vertical axis we are taking the value of total cost. So the concept of total variable cost will start from the origin and it is upward sloping. Whenever the production will increase, the cost will go to increase. And total cost, that as we have discussed here, that whenever you are talking about the total cost, it is summation of total fixed and total variable cost, that will remain like fixed cost it is 42, and total variable cost at 0 it will remain 0, and total value will be 42. So it will not start from origin, but it will start from 42, because it is showing the summation of total fixed and total variable cost, and it is upward sloping. In this table, we are also showing the behavior of marginal productivity of the labor and the marginal cost. The value of labor, we are employing the labor from 0 to 7 units, and it is also showing the productivity as we have described in the previous table. It was from 0 to 650. We can calculate the value of marginal productivity of the labor. Now you can easily understand how could you calculate the value of marginal productivity of the labor. You have taken the difference of the total productivity of the labor, and by changing the um, labor, change in total productivity by the change in labor, you can calculate the value of marginal productivity of the labor, and you have found these values. Then we have calculated the values of average fixed cost, average variable cost, average total cost, and marginal cost. So first of all, here is the concept of labor, and there is quantity and the marginal product of the labor. Then they have given the values of average fixed cost as you have calculated previously, average variable cost, average total cost, and then they have found the marginal cost, that can be calculated by change in total cost divided by change in quantity. You can easily calculate the values of the marginal cost. Total cost can be calculated as you can uh, as you have the idea that total variable or the average variable cost can be written by total variable cost divided by quantity. So from using that idea, we can calculate the values of average variable cost, average total cost, and the marginal cost. These are all the curves showing the behaviors of the average cost and the marginal cost, and these are also showing the short run, average, and marginal cost curves. Average fixed cost curve is showing the downward slope, because the fixed cost will remain fixed but output is going to increase. In the start, the output is low, that's why the average fixed cost is high, and after that the fixed cost will remain fixed but the output will go to increase, so the average fixed cost is showing the downward trend. By using this table, you can draw the curves of the total fixed cost, total variable cost, and the total cost, and you can also calculate the average fixed cost, average variable cost, and the average cost. And you can draw these types of all the curves like total fixed cost, total variable cost, and then average fixed cost, average total cost, average variable cost, and marginal cost. And then you can easily see the behaviors of all these curves. Average total cost is also downward sloping, average variable cost is downward sloping, but average total cost will lie above the average variable cost because it is summation of average fixed and average variable cost. Marginal cost is showing the U-shaped curve and it is also showing here the upward sloping. It is also showing the upward sloping trend that in the long run, whenever the producers will produce more, they will bear more cost or they will incur more cost. So it is also showing here the upward sloping trend. It is decreasing here and then it is showing upward sloping trend. You can make all these shortened curves in one diagram only and you can easily see the behaviors of all total cost, total variable cost, total fixed cost, and then you can easily determine the behaviors of average fixed cost. Here it is showing average variable cost, average total cost, and marginal cost. So it means you are only combining the short run total cost curves and short run average cost curves. The main idea behind the short-run cost curve we have described that capital will remain fixed and the production function in short run can be written as quantity is function of labor and with fixed capital. This is showing the inverse of the total product of the labor. If you want to see the short run cost function, that can be written as total cost is equals to function of quantity, because whenever the producer will produce some quantity or the production, they will bear some cost. If they will produce less, they will bear less cost. If they will produce more, they will bear more cost. This idea is showing about the isocost line that in the previous lecture I have described about the cost minimization and the isocost line. As we have described in the budget line, in the budget line we have discussed about the theory of consumer, that how he can spend within his budget constraint. But according to the producer point of view, we are thinking about how the producer is minimizing his cost and maximizing his production. You can relate this shortened cost with one variable input by the input minimization or cost minimization input, or the optimizing behavior of the producer. Whenever we are talking about short run cost with one variable input, so total cost function is given, and by this function you can calculate the marginal cost and average total cost. Marginal cost can be found, or that can be calculated by taking the derivative of total cost with respect to quantity. As this is 160 is the, it is fixed at, this has no the variable, like the quantity, so it will be 0 according to mathematics. And um, this 0.025, it is showing the multiplication with q square. If you will take the derivative, so this 2 will become the base, or it will be multiplied by 0.025, and you will subtract from this power, that 2 minus 1 will become 1. So marginal cost value will become 0.05 q. Short run average cost curve means whenever you will divide this total cost by the quantity, you will get the average total cost. It means 160 over quantity plus 0.025 divided by q square divided by q. So you will get this type of equation. And this is the very important point, that we can use the production function to show that marginal cost is equal to minimum short run average total cost. So it means whenever the marginal cost is equal to the minimum of short run average total cost, so you can use this concept for showing the production function. By using that concept, we can also find the capacity of the firm, that it means the output level that minimizes average total cost. We are most concerned about the concept of average cost or the average total cost, because it is showing the per unit cost of the firm. As we have calculated here the concept of average total cost, and you can take the derivative of this, which is showing the marginal cost. As we have here the concept of marginal cost, that was change in total cost divided by change in quantity. But whenever you want to find out that output level which is minimizing the average cost, okay, so you will take the derivative of that average cost with respect to quantity. As the average cost here, average total cost can be written 160 divided by q plus 0.025 q, and total cost is 160 plus 0.025 q square. By using the minimization concept, whenever we are taking the derivative with respect to q of the average total cost, you will get q steric is equals to 80. If the firm produces 80 units of output, then marginal cost will be 4. It means here whenever you will put 80, so you will get the value of marginal cost, that will be 4. And average total cost will be 4, means you will put here the q is equals to 80, here q is equals to 80, you will get the value of average total cost. If the firm produces 80 units of output, total cost will be equals to $320. It means the level of output that corresponds to the minimum short run average total cost is often called the capacity of the firm. For showing the minimization of the average total cost, you will take the derivative of average total cost with respect to quantity, that will show the capacity of the firm. A firm that is producing at an output less than the point of minimum average total cost is said to have excess capacity. If we will produce the less than average total cost, it means you have excess capacity. If you will produce more than average total cost, so it means it will have less capacity. So you can even see the capacity of the firm by using this method. In the next lecture, we will describe the cost functions in case of long run. We have the idea of the short run. You have the book of the Principles of Microeconomics by the Menkev. So you can calculate the cost functions, or you can draw the cost curves by using the cost tables, and also you can see the relationship between productivity and cost. The concept of long run that we will describe in the next lecture. So this is for all of the students that um, the quizzes and assignments that will be taken from all of you from the next week. So this I hope you all have received the email by the Dr. Islam that there will be assignments, and from the quizzes your marks of the midterm exam will be um, included. So prepare all the lectures before the midterm exam that we have discussed, that much course will be included. Not all the online lectures, but I will tell you about whenever I will take the first quiz. I will tell you that from this lecture to this lecture your first quiz will be conducted, as you have given me some quizzes before that epidemic has been occurred. So we will discuss um, on whenever your next lecture will be, that whenever your when will be your first assignment and when will be your first quiz. But be prepared for your quizzes and be prepared for your assignments. And if you have any question or query, you can ask from me, as your Google Classroom platform has been given to all of you. Thanks for your attention.